Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, the market went down and found support around the 2430 quarter high volume node. That is the main high volume node in the current balance area. And so far, the buy side has been pretty active and aggressive off of that zone. So the main area of support heading into today is going to be 2875 to 3075, and buyers need to hold ES above that zone if they are going to have a shot at maintaining control. On the upside, a break above the 3675 to 3775 pre-market resistance would confirm the bullishness on the smaller time frame and bring the 41 quarter to 43 quarter initial resistance area into play. That's an area where we could see a sell response on first test. It doesn't necessarily mean that the market has to completely fail there and reverse, but there could be some profit taking on first test of 41 quarter to 43 quarter. Beyond that, we have yesterday's RTH high at 46.75 and an open gap at 47.5, followed by resistance at 49.5 to 51.5, which marks the all-time high. Now, in the event that the market gets exhausted into 46.75 or 47.5, and especially 49.5 to 51.5, that is a spot where we could see a better response from the sell side. So heading into today, our short-term bias is neutral. We're going to continue to be fairly nimble and flexible with our real-time intraday bias. Bigger picture, the market is still technically trading within a balance, within a range, so we have to be open to the market tipping in either direction. On the downside, a break below 28.75 to 30.75 would signal the sell side in control and bring the naked VPOC at 27 quarter and support at 25 to 26.5 into play. Now, if we're breaking down on excess weakness and a lot of downside momentum with the other markets selling off as well, then we may not get much of a response at the 25 to 26.5 zone. So that's an area where we need to be cautious on the buy side, because a failure at 28.75 to 30.75 would signal weakness, and that could lead to a move down into 20 quarter and the balance area low at 16 quarter to 18.75. That's still a spot where responsive buyers can be active unless we're just going down in a complete trend down fashion. But 16 quarter to 18.75 is an important area of support on first test, and in the event that we fail to hold 28.75 to 30.75, that zone would be in play, and it's still a spot where buyers can defend. And then in the event that we go lower, the market would get very exhausted and stretched, and 08 quarter to 11 quarter is still going to be a spot where responsive buyers can be active on first test for a pretty nice move back up towards 16 quarter to 18.75 and maybe higher. Now, our initial focus this morning is going to be on the upside scenario. So unless we are seeing a lot of weakness and downside momentum in real time, the first scenario that we're going to focus on is the S&P holding 28.75 to 30.75 and eventually making its way back up towards 41 quarter to 43 quarter and possibly even higher into 46.75, 47.5, and then it would get quite exhausted by 49.5 to 51.5. So that could be a bit of a stretch, but 41 quarter to 43 quarter is a zone that can quite easily be tested today, and it wouldn't really take a whole lot to even push the market back up towards 46.75. And then on the downside, in order to put in a proper breakdown below initial support, we would have to see broad market weakness and a lot of downside momentum. So in real time, we would have to see signs supporting the idea of a proper short-term balance breakdown. If that excess weakness is present in the market and the other markets are participating and we're seeing a lot of downside momentum, then perhaps we break 28.75 to 30.75 and go lower. But if the market heads down there and we're not really seeing any decent downside momentum, the other markets are holding up, or if we're seeing a positive divergence on the advanced decline, then initial support would still have a shot at holding, and then the market could rotate back up towards 36.75 to 37.75, and then 41 quarter to 43 quarter. So with our short-term bias being neutral, these are things that we're going to have to assess in real time. Anytime the market is stuck in a balance, stuck in a range, we have to pay a little more attention to how the day is developing in real time, and then use that real-time market read to determine what kind of trade setups are going to be valid today and where the reward to risk really lies. So those are the main thoughts heading into the open. Let's see if the buy side can hold ES above 28.75 to 30.75. Let's see how it responds to 36.75 to 37.75. That's going to help us establish our real-time intraday bias, and we'll take it from there.